what we have is technology that allows the clinical caregiver or team to have minute-to-minute continuous data. And that data is generated autonomously. And that means that the patient doesn't have to have any interaction whatsoever. It automatically occurs. Once this is implanted, the data will be collected and can be acted upon remotely.
I am here with Dr. Will Hendren of Qura. Dr. Hendren, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So this is my first time speaking with anybody from the Qura team. So before we get into the platform and technology itself, I would love if you could give us a bit of your background and how you got to Qura.
Oh, sure. So I am a former dyed-in-the-wool cardiac surgeon who ran several different programs in my career. However, I've had over 25-year experience and interest and track record with early stage medical innovation, including devices. I was approached by the former CEO of Qura to look at their technology and to understand what they were doing. And it didn't take me very long to realize that this was truly innovative and pioneering technology. And I offered the observation that the company, which was founded, and I can give some background as I talk about the evolution of it in a minute, but was founded for measuring pressure to address the problem of glaucoma, which is an ocular disease that I'm sure most people are familiar with. That the cardiovascular world is a very, very, very significantly larger market with a lot of need for technology like this. And so they asked me to join, and subsequently I've become CEO, and we are focused on the cardiovascular world. So that's a really good question. And, you know, it might be helpful to understand really the whole history and the story.
Absolutely.
Because what Qura is all about is implantable sensor technology to measure pressure. Right now, pressure, although we have our eye on other physiologic parameters, but to measure pressure inside of the human body and then measure the pressure, wirelessly transmit that data out of the body so that it's actionable. And that means people can make clinical decisions real time, minute to minute, based on the measurements and the data that we produce. What we have is technology that allows the clinical caregiver or team to have minute-to-minute continuous data. And that data is generated autonomously. And that means that the patient doesn't have to have any interaction whatsoever. It automatically occurs. Once this is implanted, the data will be collected and can be acted upon remotely. So the reality of it is that I'm quite sure you understand that one of the byproducts of COVID is that there is an intense desire and need now, unmet need, to provide telemetric or telehealth, telemetric solutions to clinical problems. And really our story is telehealth and telemedicine on steroids, meaning that we really truly can measure things and far away from the patient. This data can be transmitted anywhere in the world instantaneously and can be acted upon. So what the Qura solution really is all about is implantable. That's a big buzzword. It's implantable, it means it goes inside the body as opposed to wearables, your Fitbit or your Apple Watch and things like that. And it is, as I said, continuously operating. And the reason that we're able to do this is because we've solved three really huge problems that really, I think, are quantum leaps and contributions. One is the extreme miniaturization of the size of all the components that go into the device. Tiny, tiny, tiny. The sensors themselves, 10 of them can fit into the dot of an end of a period. A tiny, tiny, tiny battery or power supply that can be continuously charged over time and will last for 15 years. And then, of course, the pressure sensing modality itself. All put together, the device that we are finalizing for the cardiovascular applications is the size of a grain of rice. Wow. So those three things, that dramatic miniaturization, the ability to power it and get the data out for a very significant distance, that's a really big deal. Well, actually, it's really interesting because COVID didn't affect, our thinking or development plan. In fact, when that question was posed in 2006, basically they were thinking, there's got to be a better way to take care of patients. I can tell you, I'm a physician. I hate going into the hospital. I hate going up to Boston where I get my care. And, if you can have the modality where you could be taken care of remotely and just as well, why not? Right. So the reality of it is, we've been thinking about telehealth in one form or another for 15 years, way before, it's become mainstream and popular. The reality of it is that COVID, its contribution and its legacy is that it really sort of launched the next revolution in healthcare, and that's, the seeking of remote solutions, and that's what we really represent. I've been focused on cardiovascular my whole professional life. Right. And a lot of the innovation that I've been associated with. So the reality of it is that what we are doing is we've taken all of these core concepts and lessons that we've learned, the components, the tiny, tiny little battery, the integrated circuitry, the ability, the sensor technology, the integration of it all. But we have to alter that a bit for the cardiovascular application as opposed to the human eye. In fact, if anything, we have more real estate that we can work with than we did in the eye. But that doesn't, lessen the challenges of the software and hardware integration, et cetera, that goes into this. So where we are is we are currently fundraising to complete the finalization of the human device for the cardiovascular applications. We have our development team. We have all the core components, but we're really waiting until we have this fully funded before finalizing that, because just as a manager, I feel very strongly about having that nut solved, and we're making good progress on that front. In a year, in 12 to 14 months from the completion of the financing, we will have the device finalized and ready for animal testing, all the obligatory safety, biocompatibility issues, et cetera. So we really believe that in 18 to 24 months, we will be in human beings. Amazing. After the funding. we have developed, yes, we've developed most of that, as I said, in concert with the early devices for the eye. But of course, we will be refining that process as we go. But it works. You know, how it does it, it's getting the signal from that little device. It's the size of a hockey puck. It can sit in a woman's purse or in a man's coat jacket or whatever during the day, and or it can be sitting remotely, you know, at a bedstand, but only once or twice a week. That's all that's required of that. And that's the same device that will read the signal coming out of the body, and that via Bluetooth will connect up to the cloud to allow the process of acquisition of the data and the data analytic showing up on your phone, the provider's phone, whatever it is, so that it can be with an alert. Hey, blood pressure is 200, need to do something. The physician will know, or the care team will know instantaneously. And ultimately, we'll be able to build algorithms into it so that the doctor doesn't even need to do it. The patient can, you know, go down the list and say, oh, I better take another, you know, one of my beta blockers or whatever the medications are on.